All right, Krakow, it's really nice to be back. Who of you needs more problems? Well, a couple of people, great, because you've definitely come to the right place, because we're talking today about localizing videos and how it's a great way to get some more problems in your life, some more challenges, but also some more opportunities. My name is Anton Bollen. I live in Berlin. I work for an American software company called TechSmith as their European technology evangelist. And what's really important for you to know about me is that I'm an absolute video geek. I love video. I've been creating video for many, many years. It's something I'm really passionate about. And my wife kind of hates me about it when I'm showing her instructional videos and telling her how cool they are. And she's just like, go home. So remember this part about me. I love videos and love talking about them. And that's why I'm so glad to be back here. Because I was in Krakow in 2015 and I gave a presentation about creating and designing effective and engaging videos that your viewers actually want to see. And I must have done an okay job because the general trend in the industry is that the usage and the creation of video is increasing. You know, that's pretty cool. And we can look at some facts here. So for one, Cisco Solutions came out with a report that says that by 2020, over 80% of internet traffic will be consumed through video. That's such a large number. Just think about that, what that really means. Video is going to be everywhere. And another one that I think is awesome, another statistic, is that YouTube is the second most popular search engine in the world right after Google itself. And what does that tell you? It tells you that people are looking for content in the video format. When people go to YouTube to find something, they're expecting to find video content. And last but not least, think about your own life, your own behavior, your own websites that you are going to. On social media, how much more videos are you seeing now as compared to a year ago? Or when you go to a news site, there's definitely going to be some sort of video to go along with that article. Or even just how you're communicating with your wife, your partner, your parents, your kid. There's a good chance you're using Skype or FaceTime or some other video communication method. So video is everywhere. And this trend is not just generally, you know, in the internet, but this is affecting our industries. We conducted a survey at TC World last year, and we asked folks, hey, are you using images and video as part of your technical documentation? And the first one, not really a big surprise, but more than 90% said, yes, we're using some images. But what I think is much more exciting is that over a third say they are already using video, at least to some extent, as part of their technical communication. We don't have a benchmark on this number yet, but I look forward to seeing what it's going to be like next year. And I have a feeling that number is going to go up and up and up. And it's even more extreme if you're taking a look at training and the e-learning field, which is very adjacent to the technical writing and communication field. And we conducted a small study at the LearnTech show in Germany, and over 83% of the people there said video is very important or extremely important for our training strategy. And over 86% of them said they want to create more video next year. So the trend, as that graph said, it's going up. We're going to see and do more video. How many of you are either, when I say you, either you personally or your intermediate department are creating video right now? Yeah, so about a third, a little bit more than a third, so maybe the 38% I showed earlier, maybe they're pretty accurate. And the thing is, it makes sense because video is really awesome, right? I said before, I'm passionate about this. This is probably my favorite slide. Video is awesome, and it's awesome for any kind of technical communication. But why, right? Because video allows you to show a process very clearly and effectively. The viewer has full control of the content. They can pause, they can rewind, they can rewatch as often as they need to, and they can watch it anywhere, anytime. That's a huge advantage to the user, and that explains why people are going to YouTube to find content and answers. That explains why the younger workforce, the millennials, are looking for employers that offer more video-based training and onboarding type stuff. And if you're creating video, it allows you to reach a much wider audience as well if you are able to put your content out on YouTube and on other video platforms. And if you're doing stuff like that, it can, in today's time, it can really give you a competitive advantage over your competitors, really. If they're not doing video and you are, in Germany, you would say you have an ace up your sleeve. You have something new, something engaging, something that can make the sale at the end of the day. And video, of course, is efficient and reusable if you think about it, and it can really save you some time and money on training, onboarding, internal communication, documentation. There are so many use cases for video, and video can be, as we'll see in a little bit, can be very simple or it can be very complex. So the answer is pretty easy for all of us in the room, right? Let's create more videos. There's just one problem. There's a good chance the product or the service you're developing it for a global audience, right? And they speak many languages. And yeah, that's where it gets complicated, because when you get to that point in your content strategy, you're opening up a box of new problems. And that's what I'm here to talk to you a little bit more about. Because one does not simply just localize videos. This is something we had to discover ourselves, which I'm going to tell you about very soon. But first, let's take a look at video as a very complex medium and all the different elements that can make up a particular video. So for example, you have the visual portion. You have maybe a speaker. You are maybe showing some sort of instructional, some sort of technical process. You're video recording something. If you're documenting software, you might have a screen recording in there, and you might have 3D animations, graphics. So you have the visual components to your video. But then you also have text, such as maybe a title slide or lower thirds to introduce a speaker or trainer, warning labels, captions. There's much more to that as well. There's the audio component, so any kind of voiceover, narration, dialogues. You also have noise and background music, but those two you usually, fortunately, don't have to localize. And then on top of all that, you have the whole cultural thing. What's your audience like, or how does your audience in America compare to your European audience or your South American audience? What about the examples you're using? Can you transfer those one-to-one within your video content, or do you need to think about that? What about the symbols you're using? And a lot of this applies to other type of content as well. So I don't think a lot of this is necessarily new to you. But when you're looking at all this, it's holy shit, there's a lot I could localize in my video, right? But the question is really, do I have to? What do you actually need to localize to achieve your target, your goal, right? And I think that is a very important and critical question for all of us as we're creating our video content, we're happy with it, we're trying to go the next step and localize it and put it out there for our global audience, that we really focus on what do I really need to achieve my goal, because all of this together is gonna be possibly too much, yeah? So in order to decide what type of elements you really need, there are many factors. The type of video working, your audience, their expectations, your internal expectations, the way you design your content, that's really key. And of course, end of day, we've heard this a few times today, how much money and time do you actually have, right? So I like soapconf because soapconf is, I feel like this is community. I feel like I'm friends with many of you, so we can kind of make this personal, right? And I can tell you my story of video localization. And for this, we're going to go back in time to the year 2005. I'm straight out of high school, and I have some pretty sweet hair. I kind of miss it. And I'm working as an intern at the training department of this TechSmith software company, and I'm creating instructional videos about our products, right? Pretty straightforward. And I'm creating those videos mostly in English. And then one day, my boss comes in, and my boss says, hey, it would be kind of, you know, we have our products in German and in French, you should start making those videos. And I say, okay, I think I can handle that. And then he says, we're expanding our product portfolio to Korean and Japanese. You should do that too. Yeah, how about that? So, but it's a challenge accepted, let's do this. So, me and my colleagues, my little team, we sit down, we say, all right, let's look at our video content and ask ourselves, what do we actually need to localize? And these videos we were creating are onboarding videos. They're the first user impression. They open our software, they see a video. This is really important stuff. We really want to give them the best possible experience. We make video software, so we can't cut corners. Like this, our video stuff has to be kick-ass. And as a result, we decided, okay, we need to localize everything. We need to localize the screen, the title slides, the audio, any on-screen text, the examples, and so on, because we want to give that really rich, perfect experience based on the type of video we have in this case and the target audience we're trying to reach them and how we're trying to reach them. Yeah, so this is a task, but fair enough, we come up with a process like all of you do. Whenever you have a challenge, you come up with a process and you figure this out. And, captions, I guess, as well. And I want to give you a quick overview of the process that we had, or that we put into place. And we started with a script, which is a good starting point for any kind of video, whether you localize it or not. And on the left hand, we kind of had a type of storyboard where we kind of wrote down like the type of stuff we want to be showing and explaining. And on the right side, we really had the spoken narration, word for word, how the speaker is, or the person, the narrator, the trainer, is saying it into the microphone. Right? Pretty straightforward. Then we added a column to the right side and had our translators fill in the translated text. Okay, so we have our script. Then the intern gets to do some screen recordings, and I recorded. Our software is available in all those languages, so I made screen recordings for each of the different languages. Navigating Japanese windows, not the easiest thing, but you can figure it out, because the buttons in the software and in the programs are still in the same place. Takes a little bit of practice, but it's manageable. And again, this is DIY, this is 2005, 2006. We're just trying to get something done here. And audio recordings, we partially recorded ourselves. So if you've seen any of the German videos from TechSmith in the last, 12 years, there's a good chance you heard my voice. Otherwise, for the Korean and the Japanese, we hired people to do it who could speak the language. And then we've gone on to, the next step is really, we have the screen recordings, we have the audio, we have to mash that stuff up. And German and French, yeah, pretty easy for me. I speak the language, I can listen to the audio, I can make the cuts, I can move things along to synchronize them and match them up with the actual screen content. But what about those languages? I don't speak them, so that is definitely a big problem. Because how am I going to listen to the audio and know when to line up, click on the big red button to the audio piece, right? So, challenge accepted. Let's see what we can do. We had our script, and on the left side, as you can see, we added some numbers. And those numbers aligned with, all of these are basically one action step within the video, right? So they're not long paragraphs, it's really kind of like, go to this option, do this, do this, do this. And each of them aligns with a number. And instead of recording the entire script as one consecutive audio file, we had our voice talents deliver one audio file for every single segment. So you might end up with 30, 40 of these clips per video, but they're only 2 or 3 seconds long each. And because I have my script and I have the English in there next to the Korean or the Japanese, I can synchronize them now, because even though I can't understand what's being said as I'm listening to it, I still know that audio number 3 means click on this button, audio 4 means save, audio 5 should align with open the dialogue, and so on and so forth. So even without being able to understand it, referencing my script and having all of the audio segments nicely labeled as to what they should mean allowed me to synchronize that stuff. And yeah, it worked, right? We did this process for 8 or 9 years, and it was very pragmatic. It was down to earth. Let's just get this done to reach our wider audience, make our products available in more languages. And it's definitely a process I would recommend to any of you if you are working on, or if you have, to any of you if you're getting started with video localization, you're only having a couple of videos to localize, or only a few languages to serve up. But the downside is, it's time consuming, especially those languages you don't speak, and it's really hard to scale. Once you add, I was dealing with like 10 to 15 languages per videos per language. Once you're dealing with 50 languages or 50 videos in 10 languages, you can't really do that in-house anymore unless we hire all of you as video producers and everybody starts producing video. So what can you do, right? Time and scalability is a problem that you will likely encounter at some point as you're creating video content. And first up, and we've heard this a few times today, design with localization in mind. And there are many things you can do, and if this interests you, I'm happy to talk more about this with you outside. But generally, keep it simple. Don't use as little text as possible and use icons and symbols instead. Don't show the speaker, because the speaker, lip movement and stuff is hard to synchronize. If you show B-roll or kind of like scenes, it's much easier to just lay voiceover over that. Use universal examples. Simplified UI is something we are playing around with right now for our software applications as a way to make it easier to localize and update. And then one thing I found by talking to other customers and other people in the industry who are localizing videos, they're de-emphasizing the audio narration. Yeah? And this is really key. And you have to be aware of one thing. It will likely take away some of the effectiveness of your content because you're removing a layer of information that you convey. But on the other hand, it will also significantly decrease the cost, the labor that goes into it, because you no longer, because you no longer have to record the audio. You no longer have to synchronize the audio, which is the hardest part of all of it. So let's take a look at how some companies have solved this. So this is a German company. They do big brewery equipment, which is awesome in my opinion, because beer is awesome. And they're having the exact identical visual image, but I hope you can kind of read this. But any kind of text overlays they were using, they have those localized. There's no audio narration. There's background music, but that's not really that significant. And as I said, they have the on-screen text localized, and that allows them to create a specific video for each of their target markets and their target audiences, giving them a fairly rich experience. So let's take it one step further, though. So there's another company from Germany that I spoke with, and they decided they didn't want to have one video for each of their countries. They just want to have as few videos as possible to distribute, because it makes it easier for managing and updating at a later point. And they decided, well, let's just add multiple languages onto the same slides. So this is Italian and English, and you could do even more with that. It's not necessarily ideal, and in a lot of ways, what I'm showing you right now is in conflict with my presentation from 2 years ago, where I was telling you to make engaging and unique stuff. But we're looking at new problems now, right? And they're serving up multiple languages through on-screen text, again, no audio. And the real big benefit is that if they ever have to do updates, they're really just dealing with a single video. So it's easier to distribute, update, and so on. So that's another thing you can think about as part of your video localization strategy. Then what else can you do? And this is one of my favorites, captions, subtitles, because they allow you to do so much with the content you already have. Right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, these guys down here. So why are they awesome? Well, because with a single video, you can support, technically, if your video player supports it, many languages. And you're already writing a script, so you already have a base for creating those captions. So the extra work is very minimal. The synchronization is pretty easy. You can use YouTube for that. You can use some of the tools out there for that. So that's really not that much extra work. And once you have that work done, you get an SRT file or what's the other one? VTT, doesn't matter. Caption files. You can easily have those translated and really scale this up to many more languages. And as a little bonus, if accessibility is something you're concerned about, you're starting to be more compliant with that as well. So in other ways, if you already have some video content, simply captioning it and translating those captions allows you to reach more and more audiences with very significantly little work. So let's go back to drinking some water, and then let's go back to my story, right? To what happened to us after we got done with our DIY process. As I mentioned earlier, scalability and time, we ran into that as well. We were starting to have a faster release cycle. We were adding new products, new languages. In other words, we needed more video content in less time. And we said to ourselves, so how can we solve this? Well, outsourcing, right? Let's try this. And we found ourselves, or we had a translation provider, and in our mind, we were pretty naive. We were like, all right, let's take this video, send it over, and guess what? We get the perfect version back, right? No. So we got this video back, and it was badly synchronized. The cursor movements were really unprofessional. It didn't have the right resolution. They were not using our corporate colors. They didn't pronounce our product names right. And as us, we are video, we're anal retentive about this. We want the best of the best because we are a video company. So this was just, this was awful. And not only was it awful, it introduced a whole bunch more problems, right? So on the one, us having to review the content they were sending us was taking hours. That sucked. Then also, fixing the mistakes was expensive for us, for them, just all around not cool. And then the worst problem of it all was that because the videos were not done when we expected them to be done, we were putting the actual product release at risk. And that's a problem you don't want to have on your shoulders, right? So we fixed the problem that time by just working a shit ton and getting the videos fixed in cooperation with that company. But we took a step back and said, all right, how can we prevent this from happening in the future? Because we don't want to go there again. And we looked at it and we said, like, why is this happening? And it really came down to being a communication problem. And it really came back down to us being naive and just expecting to hand over a video and having it work out perfectly. Because we were not providing enough information and context and guidance to the company, to our translation partner. And so we decided to, well, let's fix that, right? Because we need to make more videos, we need to work with our partner, so how can we do this? And there's a couple of things we did. For one, we created video style guides that really defined everything from recording hardware to how to set up your operating system, what Windows colors to use, editing dimension, fonts, colors, effects, everything that needed to go into our video, the production stuff, was being defined here generally for all of our videos that were part of a particular series. Yeah, follows? All right, cool. Then we took it one step further. We wrote an enhanced script. I showed you the script earlier, and we kind of had this semi-storyboard on the left side. We went above and beyond to really explain step by step to recreate our videos the way we want them to be. As I said, we're really particular. So it really is, how do you start things out? How far do you zoom? What are the different steps you need to do? What example files to use? And we did this for every video, for every single step. We're recreating the instructions for how to recreate each scene. And we handed those over to our translation partner. And we did some more things. We added more an earlier review cycle so we could capture the problems before the end. We gave them some sort of pronunciation key so they know how to say our product names. And the translation partner, we trained them a little bit. We talked to them more openly about things, gave them feedback, and helped them create the videos for us. And the cool thing is, it worked, right? We were the next set of videos, they were fantastic. We on average had about one review cycle for them, so we only had like 2 or 3 little comments we had to send back, and then they fixed them, and that video was perfect. And it only took us maybe 10 minutes to review each video, which is fantastic. Because before it was taking forever. So by providing these clear instructions that script the guidelines, it maybe was 1 hour of extra work of going through the video and recreating these steps for doing those recordings. But in the end, it saved us 2 days of back and forth with that company, and that was major. That was a huge breakthrough for us, and we're like, wow, that made us realize that that you can outsource your videos and you can get this done. You can avoid a lot of problems by simply providing very clear instructions. So, to kind of wrap this up, right? What I want to tell you is video is awesome, and you all should create video. But keep in mind that it can be complex. So if you're starting to localize it or think about reaching a wider audience with your video, you don't always have to do all of it, but think about the different elements and maybe designing and optimizing some of them to be localization friendly or localization neutral. And then in other ways also figuring out which ones you really need to localize to achieve your learning goal or your information transfer goal. Then also come up with a process, improve on it, as you all do with all of your other work as well. And then last but not least, make sure to communicate with any of the people that are involved in the process, whether that's internal or external, making sure, don't assume that they know how to do it, but rather keep the communication feedback going both ways. Because that way you can take your box of problems that I was talking about earlier and really turn that into a box of opportunities to reach new audiences, global audiences with really kick-ass video content. As I said before, I love video and I would love to continue this conversation with you guys. So if you're thinking about doing video or are doing video or are localizing video, let's talk to me at some point. And right now, I'm open for your questions.
Thank you, Anton. By the way, your presentation was like pretty soapy, awesome soapy.
Yeah, I really like this pink color theme. Yeah,
that looked great. Okay, we can afford just 2 questions. 2 questions. Yeah.
Hi. You were saying that your deliveries, you deliver your videos at the same time as your product. You were saying, that localization could hold that up. We've never been able to deliver our videos at the same time as the product because it changes so much. And so near the end, how do you even manage to get your English version, never mind your localized versions, for that deadline?
Well, we call it RTM, so that's the date we release we freeze the code on the product and we say, okay, no more UI changes. And then we have about a 2-week window to get things out to, and we usually have 2 or 3 weeks until we go out to the market. So that is just crunch time. We prepare as much as we can, but then the actual video, we have a team of 4 or 5 people doing video internally, and they just crunch down on that. In some cases, we also just add more time. So we say, okay, product is ready, but instead of waiting 2 weeks to release it, we are counting 4 or 5 weeks just to make sure we have enough time for the English content and for our localization partner to do that. Another one is also we didn't wait until all the English videos were done in order to talk to our localization partner and say, hey, do all of them. But as we were finishing up the English ones one by one, we started shipping them over to the company and saying like, hey, start working on this, start working on this, start working on this. Yeah, so that's some of the things we're doing. For some of the, like as I mentioned earlier, simplified UI. I don't know, do you know what that is? It's, I can't really show you because I don't have my computer.
So you've kind of drawn it out rather than...
Yeah, exactly. You don't actually take an image of your software UI, but you represent it through graphics that you have built. And so even if the button changes or moves, it doesn't really affect your product, because, your video, because your video is not one-to-one based on that, but rather a representation of the idea behind it. So that's another strategy we're doing, especially with some of the content that's in the product itself. Some of the videos just pull into the product, so we can put those on YouTube and they get sucked in, so we can do that on release day. But some of it really needs to be hard-coded into the software as well. And for those, we're doing right now a lot with that technology, or not technology, but with that style. One more question?
Yeah,
maybe?
we have one more question from Karen.
Hi.
I'm going to take a tip from Kate and Dirk from earlier and say, what does 38% mean? You said that 38% use it, but as somebody who actually dislikes not having a transcript, dislikes not having some kind of a reference where I can just, oh, I saw that hour-long video and there was something about a shortcut. What was the shortcut key?